evening of July 2, 1999, Evanston, Illinois, was struck by an unthinkable tragedy when former Northwestern University basketball coach Ricky Byrdsong was gunned down while jogging near his home. This was no random act of violence. Byrdsong was one of the many innocent victims of a hate-fueled shooting spree carried out by white supremacist Benjamin Nathaniel Smith. The murder of Ricky Byrdsong sent shockwaves through the Chicago area, drawing attention to the dangers of white nationalism and the long-lasting impact of hate crimes. A man of impact, Ricky Byrdsong was more than just a basketball coach. He was a father, husband, and community leader. Known for his positive attitude, faith, and mentorship, Byrdsong had left his position at Northwestern University to spend more time with his family and focus on motivational speaking, spreading messages of unity, peace, and faith. He lived in Evanston with his wife, Sherilyn, and their 3 children, and was beloved in his community for his warmth, wisdom, and unrelenting spirit. The hate-fueled rampage Benjamin Nathaniel Smith was a white supremacist affiliated with the World Church of the Creator, an extremist organization that espoused hateful ideologies against people of color, Jews, and other minority groups. In the days leading up to Ricky Byrdsong's murder, Smith embarked on a 2-day shooting spree across Illinois and Indiana, targeting people solely because of their race and ethnicity. The rampage began on July 2, 1999, when Smith drove through multiple neighborhoods in Chicago, opening fire on people he believed to be Jewish, Black, or Asian. His attacks were indiscriminate but deliberate, killing 2 people and injuring 9 others in the span of 48 hours. Smith's spree of terror crossed state lines, but it was in Evanston, just north of Chicago, that he took the life of Ricky Byrdsong. The murder of Ricky Byrdsong on the evening of July 2, Ricky Byrdsong was out for a jog with 2 of his children in their quiet Evanston neighborhood when Smith spotted him. Without warning or provocation, Smith opened fire from his car, shooting Byrdsong multiple times. The coach fell to the ground in front of his terrified children, who ran home to get help. Byrdsong was rushed to Evanston Hospital, but he died from his injuries shortly after. He was 43 years old. The murder was senseless, the act of a man driven by hatred and consumed by a violent ideology. Byrdsong's death struck a chord in Chicago, where he was well known for his work both on and off the basketball court. The randomness of the crime, targeting a man solely because of his skin color, left the community reeling. The aftermath of the shooting spree, Smith's rampage, did not stop with Byrdsong's murder. Over the next 48 hours, Smith continued his shooting spree, injuring several others before authorities closed in on him. His trail of destruction spanned cities and even crossed state lines into Indiana, where he injured members of the Asian and Jewish communities. Despite law enforcement's efforts, Smith remained on the run until July 4, 1999, when he was cornered in southern Illinois. As police closed in, Smith committed suicide by shooting himself, taking his motive and plans to the grave. The investigation following Smith's death, the investigation into his rampage and the ideology behind it intensified. It was soon discovered that Smith had been a devoted follower of the World Church of the Creator, a white nationalist organization that openly preached hatred against minorities. The group's rhetoric, spread through speeches, newsletters, and online forums, had fueled Smith's radicalization and ultimately his murderous actions. The FBI and local law enforcement agencies worked together to piece together Smith's movements in the days leading up to the shooting spree. It became clear that Smith had specifically targeted people based on their race and ethnicity, making his actions part of a premeditated hate crime. Though Smith's suicide brought the investigation to an abrupt halt, questions lingered about how someone so openly involved in white supremacist groups had been able to plan and execute such a violent rampage. The impact on Chicago and beyond the murder of Ricky Byrdsong and the broader terror caused by Benjamin Nathaniel Smith left an indelible mark on Chicago and its surrounding areas. The city, already grappling with issues of race and violence, was now forced to confront the growing threat of white nationalism and hate-fueled violence. Communities of color, particularly Black and Jewish residents, were left feeling vulnerable, while law enforcement agencies came under pressure to take a harder stance on hate groups and domestic terrorism. The Byrdsong family, devastated by Ricky's death, became outspoken advocates for unity and peace. Sherilyn Byrdsong, Ricky's widow, founded the Ricky Byrdsong Foundation, dedicated to promoting healing, community building, and education to combat racism, hatred, and violence. Through their work, the Byrdsong family turned their personal tragedy into a larger movement for positive change, ensuring that Ricky's legacy would live on. Unanswered questions and lingering concerns. Though Benjamin Smith's death marked the end of his reign of terror, many questions remain about how hate crimes are handled in the United States. How did Smith become so radicalized without detection? Why wasn't more done to stop him before his shooting spree? These are just some of the questions that still haunt the community. The murder of Ricky Byrdsong was a stark reminder of the insidious nature of hatred and extremism. While Smith was brought to a grim end, his actions continue to resonate in the fight against white nationalism and hate crimes in the U.S. Ricky Byrdsong's murder was not just a personal tragedy, it was a call to action for communities to stand against racism and violence in all forms. A legacy of unity. Ricky Byrdsong's murder was a senseless act of hatred, but his legacy lives on through his family, friends, and community. The Ricky Byrdsong Foundation continues to promote peace and understanding, advocating for a world free from hate. The tragedy of his death serves as a sobering reminder of the consequences of unchecked bigotry, but also as a source of hope that, through education and activism, hate can be overcome. As we remember Ricky Byrdsong, we honor not just his accomplishments on the basketball court, but his role as a loving father, husband, and advocate for unity. His legacy continues to inspire those who fight for justice and equality, making sure that his tragic death was not in vain.